Society loves to pin women against each other. In this video, we're going to look at the Gene Keys profile of both Chloe and Beyonce to see how they're both pieces of a big puzzle when we look at purpose. Now, there is a lot of familiarity, similarities, even mirroring of Chloe and Beyonce, which have been marketed to society, in which maybe they have been provoked to actually pin these two together. But the overall arcing idea is that we all have a throne. We all can have a throne. When we look at the purpose behind individuals' profiles, we can actually see how we're all working together to help create a big, beautiful picture of unification, of unity. And competition now becomes a healthy factor in sharpening steel, in the sense that sharpening one to stand in their purpose while you stand in your own. Now, there is a very well-known saying by Robert Greene who says, you should never outshine the master. And this is an idea that is important when one is trying to take somebody's place. But is that really what is happening here with Chloe and Beyonce? In my theories behind this, I don't see that. I think that the cosmos and the blueprints behind these two are working together for them to support each other as they both get stronger in their own paths. Chloe being new to the scene, Beyonce being a master of the industry. It actually can demonstrate the longevity of someone, whether they are at the apex, the climax of their work, or at the beginning, right? So let's look at the Gene Keys purpose behind Chloe and Beyonce, and let's look at what they're here to help each other get better at in their own paths. If you'd like to know more about your Gene Key profile, dive into your own purpose, saturate your life, and fuel your life, then check out the course in the description below. How I like to interpret the purpose of the Gene Keys is that it's this hidden force, this fuel, this engine that is driving a person into life. And quite often we all may find ourselves stuck or not sure where to go, lost in life. And in the Gene Keys, I personally think that looking at your purpose can get your engines back and running again. That ignites the entire chart into all of the things and the complexities of what you're here to do. But if you don't have your fuel and you don't have your engine, then it's really difficult to get going in life. Sometimes we approach things from angles of, we got to look better, we got to do this, we got to do that. But what about you actually stand in your purpose? How about you start there, right? Now, I just did a video on Beyonce's Gene Key purpose, and I'll just reiterate here that her genetic purpose, according to this Gene Key profile, is to be the rhythmic. And so this is the thing that actually you could saturate yourself in. When you saturate yourself in your purpose, you're no longer responding or reacting to the external in a way where you need or are codependent of the external, right? When you have your purpose and you're saturated in your purpose, people can't see what is pushing you, but it's no longer them and their opinions. It's you and your divine will to get things going. And when you're in your purpose, you actually start to have strong ideas of who you are, strategy of what you want to do. And then when it's time to respond to society, you're not just like pulling things out of thin air or pulling things out of nowhere. You're actually responding to society based off of what you've already been doing, which is standing in your purpose. With Beyonce's purpose in this Gene Key profile being the rhythmic, this is what is running her engine. The rhythmic being deeply connected to rhythms. This is a big part of her work, whether people understand and see the sparkles and the flash and the design of Beyonce being a vocalist, being a fashion artist, whatever those things are. According to this Gene Key profile, what the hidden engine is pushing is to be connected to the rhythms of time, and everyone can interpret that based off of their own life. But I see from being a witness that the rhythms are in her music. She also is a dancer at its core. Even if people don't acknowledge her to be a great dancer, the greatest dancer, it is part of the engine that is pushing her. And also the dancing and the connection to the rhythms connects her to the timelessness in life, the structure of time, and then almost the freedom out of that structure when one exhibits patience. This is why when society responds to Beyonce based off of where are the visuals, she doesn't have to react from a place of, oh, they need me, they need to do it, I must do it on their time. In fact, she's doing it within her own divine timing, as that is her purpose, to stay in that divine timing. So you can see how your purpose keeps you in line with your own ground, your own ability to do what you have to do in life. And so now you are responding to life versus reacting. A lot of people don't even realize that they have that freedom to do that. Even when we can exhibit happiness and peacefulness and the positive sides of the emotional spectrum, even though we're all here to experience all of the sides of the emotional spectrum, but quite often we'll think that, well, our happiness and pleasure is based off of something external. But when we look at purpose, our happiness and pleasure is based off of something, of an internal drive, an engine that is fueling us. Therefore, you can be without needing something outside of you to give you the permission to be that. Even in happiness, if this makes sense, if you see, your favorite something that makes you happy, if you weren't feeling good just a moment ago, yeah, it's great that that external thing made you happy. Now you're in a better place. But what if you had the capacity to be happy without that external thing? And then when new things come and show you things to be happy for, it's actually an extra boost of happiness because you were already happy already. Well, that's what your purpose is. Your purpose allows you to be before the external stimulation comes. And so that's the key that we can all really tap into in our own purpose. Again, check out the Udemy course down below if you would like to get into yours. So what is the engine that is actually driving Miss Chloe Bailey, into her paradigm, right? This is actually something different than Beyonce's, and it's Gene Key 48. Beyonce's is Gene Key 5, the rhythmic. Chloe's is Gene Key 48, which is the archetype of the librarian. So one of the things that really is about her purpose is transcending the shadow of inadequacy. Transcending the shadow of inadequacy. And so we can see on her journey that she is very much so in her purpose, as the highest state of Gene Key 48 is wisdom. And so there can only be wisdom from experiences that make us feel inadequate or that challenge us to be inadequate. But in her own purpose, she actually can saturate herself in the energy of her gene key. Therefore, she's no longer troubled by the external judgments and criticisms of the external world. One can remain fueled by their own purpose and overcome their shadows within their purpose. For her specifically, Gene Key 48 is inadequacy. By utilizing her own resourcefulness and saturating herself in her resourcefulness, her realization and actualization of what she has come to do and what success means to her can be realized, will be realized. As if when you saturate yourself in your purpose, you create a foundation for yourself that cannot be cracked, right? So the differences between Gene Key 5, which Beyonce is transcending the shadow of impatience, and you see that she gifts the world patience. She gifts the world patience, and this has created so much for her. Even though it's a hidden energy, your fuel, your engine is a hidden energy. So the same thing is happening here with Chloe in her journey, and we get to enjoy it as we watch somebody transcend their own purpose, the shadow of their purpose, in which her inner world is to be more resourceful and to transcend inadequacy. Therefore, she gives people who feel inadequate the blueprint of being your own resourcefulness. And so while there's a lot of flash and flare with Chloe, just as there is with Beyonce, people can't see with Beyonce that a lot of it is connecting to the rhythms of time. People can't see with Chloe that it's actually connecting to the pulling from your own instinctual skills and talents. So her archetype, her purposeful archetype that we can't see, but that fuels her into her success, is to be born with wisdom so natural that it's innate in oneself. And the wisdom is far from being perfect. It's actually being capable in the face of imperfection, of learning from the certain situations. That's what wisdom really is. So there's an awareness to be very instinctual and really connected to the body. So there's a lot here where she's created a sanctuary. She knows the essence and the depths of logic and reasoning that a lot of people cannot see. And organizing herself in the way that she does art also is within her own purpose to do so. Therefore, when people might say, oh, like, she should be doing this, she should be doing that, everybody is coming from an externalized, almost superficial layer. Whereas when an individual is synced into their purpose, they go in their own pace, their own time, and with their own storyline. Right? So maybe the things that people want from her, they will get, but it's in her own storyline that she decides how they get it when they get it. She has a great taste for visual understanding, and this librarian idea can kind of seem very dull in this archetype. But it's also considered in the breakdown of the 64 doors on unlockyourdesign.com that the librarian can also be considered like a pastry chef, a pastry baker. So a lot of the things that we don't see is that she's actually creating these little pastry versions of herself, pastry versions of people getting a little bite of her logic and wisdom through her own visual creative force. And so she explores the depths of different areas of life to find personal well-being. So if you're looking for somebody like who has this chart, who has this purpose to just be the greatest there ever was immediately, well, this person might actually want to go through the different depths of what it feels like to be great. And some of those depths is facing failure in the face. Some of those depths is going to certain lengths of like her capacity, her capability to do whatever vocal skill she can do, right? But wouldn't she be preaching to the choir if she's just the greatest vocalist of all time immediately? Why not go and explore other facets of how she can use her vocals, how she can use her talents, and eventually get to the place where it's the kind of the ecstasy of realization. But everybody wants you to get there right away, and so people forget that it's the journey. I feel like the librarian has a lot to do with the mundane journey of life, and that's actually where the good stuff is, where the destination, the conquest. I talk about this in my Mars video. Once you get to the conquest, once you know somebody is the greatest vocalist or one of the greatest that ever was, like, don't you want to move on? But in this space, it's the journey to that. And then once somebody has achieved greatness, now you can see their next journey, their next adventure. So wisdom is at the core of, at the base, at the foundation of what is happening here for Chloe Bailey. And this is actually the hidden aspect to her work that a lot of people can't see. In the previous video where I talked about her core attraction, I actually hinted to like being the starlet of the movie stars or the starlet of music, of the music industry. Whenever she shows up, she's going to be perceived as the one with the it factor. Even if it doesn't please other people, they can't help but to analyze. They can't help but to look deeper into what is actually going on with her. But it's because she has that power to do so. And so some of the wise takes that I think that she's doing that people aren't seeing is that she isn't doing the predictable path. And so the predictable path actually is available at her choosing, but one has to question, well, if she's not taking the predictable path, is she inadequate or is she actually wise? And that actually would be the thing to question, in my opinion, in looking at the work that she has done. Some of the things that I see her is flipping the game on people. A vocalist who sing raps, which is similar to Beyonce, taking the left hand path in a lot of ways, like being the one that says, if you cheat on me, I'll cheat back. A lot of people might feel the inadequacy, the shadow of the inadequacy in there, but what about the wisdom in getting people to feel something, period, like getting people to just feel. So in the librarian concepts here, the idea of the archetype of the librarian might be just this bookworm, but actually there's a lot of wisdom in the body that we learn from the librarian. There's a lot of wisdom in the body, and so because the body actually is the wise entity that we have, right? Any sort of other learning is intellectual learning, and it gets confused with wisdom. The body actually is telling us our intuition, it's telling us how we feel about things. And so a lot of her work is getting people to feel things at a very potent place. And that actually helps one who has inadequacy to actually recognize their resourcefulness if they don't allow their feelings to take over, right? You work with your feelings and bring that into the logic, and figure out what to do with your feelings through the logic, instead of letting the logic, letting the ideas, the intellect conquer over the body. It's actually the body informing the intellect. And when you get that, this is how I interpret the librarian, you gift people their own sense of resourcefulness, their own sense of wisdom, right? One could go to school and learn, but what makes you different, what makes you unique is your own intuition, your own experiences, your own emotional depth. So I feel like she's very provocative. This is also some of the things that one would say in her life's work, her Gene Key 39, also very provoking, also pulling people into their physical bodies, getting people to feel something, right? And I personally see her flipping the game at this angle in life. This could change as she adventures on into her career. But at the moment that we're in, I feel like she's flipping the game, whether people realize it or not, in getting people to feel something, because there's the idea of expectation, and then there's the reality of a person. So this is my take on it. If you guys would like to learn more about your gene keys, you can go to genekeys.com, get your own free profile, and start the journey. If you like my style and the way that I interpret it, check out the Udemy course below, where I give you a guide introducing you to the gene keys based off of how I love to use it, and simplifying things so that you can jump right in and start applying these ideas to your own life, saturating yourself in your own foundations of purpose and eventual success. See you in the next video.